to college. Is that something you'd recommend to your children?
I have no idea. I mean, my children are a little bit younger. I had them late in life. And of course, my gap year was not filled with necessarily doing some world good or some of the things that people do with their gap years. I think I was really struggling to kind of break free from my family and figure out what I was all about. And, in the interim, kind of was just a little wild and crazy that year. So I hope when and if my children do take one, it's not quite for the same reasons, but I think they can be incredibly useful.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, and I understand you went to Columbia University. I did my bachelor's there too.
Oh, good. Well, did we cross paths?
Well, I don't know. I was there 76 to 81. I was doing other things along with studying.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was a little bit later than that.
mm-hmm.
I was in the first class where they accepted women, which was 1988 was the graduating year.
Aha, very good. Yeah. And one of the things you said about going off to college, which happened to be at Columbia, was that you were able to create a whole new identity for yourself. So how did you go about doing that? And what did you want to create by design for yourself at that point?
Well, I think once again, I think I wanted to. I'm not sure that it's entirely impossible to create a new identity for yourself. I went to college realizing, or with this tension that I experienced throughout my life, this push and pull and tugging from my mother, and the needing to break free of it and understand myself. And so I was able to break free a little bit in college, but, inevitably I would get swept back into this sort of vortex of her, the drama surrounding her affair. And it took me a lot of years beyond my college years and frankly, a real crash in my life, a period of time where I became very depressed and to sort of dig my way out and really sit with what had happened, understand it, go through the work, which includes therapy and talking about it. Once her secret came out, I was able to talk to friends about it. And also the third thing that really helped me in terms of my kind of reclaiming of my life was becoming as involved in literature as I became, both professionally but personally. I became a huge reader, relatively late in life. I wasn't one of the kids who had a flashlight under the blanket. I started reading in a very earnest way in my mid-20s. But that, I find reading to be one of the most empathetic acts of all things, because, of course, in the process, you are putting yourself into the worlds that are created by these authors, into the heads of other characters, and you're watching how different people navigate situations. And so when you read a book about the Civil War or, famine in another country, you really are tossing yourself into a whole different world. And I think that was very important for me to see protagonists getting out of difficult situations, and I didn't even really realize the step that it was having inside me to sort of shift my focus to think that I could get out of situations too.
Well, it does seem that was part of the modus operandi of your stepmother when she presented some of those books and stories to you. It doesn't.
No, I owe a huge debt to her. She really helped me more than she'll ever know.
Amazing. So tell us that. Obviously, that must have had such an impact that you've gone into a career in the whole literary world and very high acclaim and in everything you seem to do. So tell us about Aspen Words.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Aspen Words is a wonderful literary nonprofit that has all sorts of programs ranging from a fantastic summer writing workshop, which is called Aspen Summer Words, and that is a conference where we have probably 10 different teaching faculty come, wonderful writers in fiction, memoir, poetry, and other things, and students, emerging writing fellows, but any aspiring writer can apply and join, and it's just a wonderful a wonderful time and place to, take a bit of space for yourself to become a writer and to learn from some masters. We have a residency program where established writers can spend some time, in a beautiful spot in the mountains writing. We have a winter words program, which is an author speaking series in the winter where the sort of literary luminaries of any year come and talk. And we also award a wonderful prize that was just started 3 years ago called the Aspen Words Literary Prize, and that awards a work of fiction that shines a spotlight on a social issue. So that might be immigration or women's issues or violence, or there is as many issues as we have. So the past winners have been Tayari Jones' An American Marriage, which was last year's winner, and the inaugural one went to Mossad Hamed for Exit West.
Wow. I mean, from both sides, where you work with underrepresented writers, with helping people discover their voices on the sort of front end of it, and then giving people the acclaim for, like you said, fiction, but still talking about actual current or past social issues and how to work your way through those. That it's just amazing. And how powerful and impactful is that? So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
So we're getting a little close towards the end of where we'll be wrapping up, but you mentioned in the book that, and maybe it was in reference to your mom, and it could have also been in reference to yourself, that lonely feeling comes from not being known. And you've now put yourself fully in the public spotlight, kind of an expose with this book, which, as you said, had come out into the open. And so you were finally able to talk about it without feeling guilt, hopefully. How's it been for you to be so public about all this that you held so close for so long?
Well, it has been something. You have hit the nail on the head. It is not easy, even when you believe in the importance of sharing your story, to, it's just such a very different skill set to write a book than to go out and chat about it. So it's been a learning process for me. I'm very glad I did it. I think I've been able, one of the unexpected outcomes is being able to help other people. When I was writing this, obviously, I thought it was a very singular, quirky, personal story. But what I've understood upon releasing the book is that, many of the themes are universal. We all have mothers. This idea of there being family legacies or things that we want to put an end to are things that a lot of readers can relate to, of how secrets keep us from being known and how traumatizing they are to our developing psyche. So it's been a really beautiful experience to talk with readers, to hear their stories. And I think, the essential piece of this, and again, this a bit has to do with my own family and my own children, is that which you don't heal from. And I think, by healing, I mean talking about and coming to terms with, you risk transmitting and passing on and just repeating the same mistakes. So overall, with some bumps along the way, it has been an incredible experience to share with the world.
Wow. Well, and that fits in with one of the quotes you had towards the end of the story from Kierkegaard, that life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards. So,
yeah, I love that quote.
Yeah, for sure. So aside from Aspen Words, is there anything else on your radar in terms of moving forward for you?
Moving forward for me, no, I love my job with Aspen Words. I hope to continue writing. I have an idea, but it's just a germ of an idea for a novel that I'd like to work on in the next year or so. And obviously I'll be promoting this book into the new year and hope that people will continue wanting to read it and talk about it and share their stories. And there's also, a wonderful possibility that it will have a life as a film.
Okay, so can you spill the beans on anything about this movie? I mean, you know, you have in mind who might play you or your mom or Ben or um, anything that could tickle our fancy, and then tell us where we could keep track of that as it develops?
I would love to tickle your fancy. I will be announcing any news that I have on my website, which is www.adriennebrodeur.com. The fact is, what I've seen of the film adaptation is a beautiful script, and it's still in process. There's still revisions going on, and writing a film is very different from writing a book, of course, because the screenwriter has to compress time and geography to make it a manageable experience on the screen. But what I can say is she has stuck to the emotional truth of the book while changing many of the details, and I think that's probably what the medium requires. As for who will play who, I do not know yet, because of course with the compression of time, the Malabar figure is younger than I currently am today. The me figure in the book, the me character, will probably, go from about 14 to her early 20s. But I'm all ears. I'm all ears if you have any ideas or any of your listeners do.
Well, I was thinking about it, and I'm not even sure I know how to pronounce her name, but Charisse, the Irish young actress.
Oh, I know who you mean, and I don't know how to pronounce it either, but she's wonderful.
Siorise. Joe, our producer, probably knows, but I saw her as you.
Well, now I'm going to Google her and look at everything she's done.
Yeah, she's spunky. She's bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and innocent, and at the same time, self-possessed as she gets, has grown older. But which is all by way of complimenting you. But just to to repeat your website so people know how to find you, it is adriennebrodeur.com. ADRIENNEBRODEUR.com. Did I get that right?
You got that right. Thank you, Donna.
Super. And last thing, you mentioned your mother's drink was the Manhattan. That was my mother's drink. It must have been a 50s thing. And tell us about that vignette where you caught yourself doing something your mom used to do. And I'm just wondering, once you tell us what that is, if there's anything else you catch yourself doing that makes you smile.
So what I caught myself doing was when my mother used to make her Manhattans, which she nicknamed the Power Pack, and she had a Power Pack or two almost every night. I watched her fill up the shaker, and she would put in the bourbon and put in the vermouth, and then she would shake it, and then she would pause, and she would always pour another sort of healthy glug or splash of bourbon. And I remember, maybe when I was in my 30s, making one of these drinks and just doing the exact same thing. And I think we all do that. We see these echoes of our parents in our actions, these just absolutely unintentional but repeated actions that we do. And, I'm trying to remember the second part of your question was, have I noticed other things? I mean, I guess I've noticed a million things. And at this point in my life, I try to celebrate the ones that are okay and change the ones that I don't like as much.
That's fabulous. Well, that happens with the wisdom of reflection, and you've certainly done a lot of that and presented it in absolutely stunning fashion in Wild Game. So all of our listeners, please get a hold of Adrienne's book, Wild Game, and head on over to adriennebrodeur.com as well and look into Aspen Words. So thank you so very much for spending time with us on this show, Living Legacy Leadership. And I want to thank our listeners as well for being here and invite you back, where we have something going on every week. And you can also check out on SOB Radio Network, where SOB is not what you think. It either stands for Smart, Open, Brave, or the original SOB, which is Spunky Old Broads, and lovingly stated. So Thank you so much, Adrienne, and thank you so much, our listeners. And do remember that the life you live is the legacy you leave.